Who don't know shit about wrestling? Who said Mariah May wasn't going to be an Impact player? Not me. It wasn't me. That was like afternoon Mario. Okay, night Mario is like way fucking more smarter and marker than that. Okay, so don't come at me with that shit. I'm playing. I can admit when I was wrong, but we're gonna watch it though, because I haven't watched it. I heard everybody go ape shit online, and I was like, oh wow, we got to get cooking here, because yikes. And if you don't know, Mariah May has made her NXT debut tonight as June 3rd. And we're going to get it cooking. We are going to get it cooking because Mariah May was cooking. I saw some of the highlights. I saw some of the everything else. And yeah, I've seen the comments, the social media, and I talked to Machine Gun Matt, who I trust very much in this game. And she got over, man. She got over like a heart attack. I don't even know what that means, but she got over, bro. No doubt about that. Can y'all see it? No? Good, because we ain't getting banned again. Oh, that made it worse. Well, that's not any better, but that's all right. So what y'all think? Should we just go straight to it? Or, I mean, yeah, we're not going to watch the whole thing, right? I mean, we have a few other topics I wanted to get to. Let's see. Uh-oh, Machine Gun Matt in the chat says, welcome to the show, the big show, Mariah May. They already changed her name. Oh, is it Maria March? No, it's not. Stop it. To quote Dusty Rhodes, she hath arrived, baby. Nice. Oh, she hath it, baby. Yeah, she hath it indeed. Um, did they really change her name? Are you trolling me, Matt? It's not Mariah March. Stop it. Right? Because literally every single article I've seen has it under Mariah May. I mean, obviously, right? Because that's how you're going to get people to click. Oh shit. Okay. Okay. Hell yeah. Let's do that. TNA invasion. What? What? All right. Hold on. Let me set this cam up, baby. Oh, I did not hear about that. So y'all are getting reactions. She was on Evolve as Mariah March. Oh shit. Oh shit. Crazy. Oh god. All right. Yo, that light just turned on. That's crazy. That's how powerful Mariah March, I guess, is. Mariah May is. That my spotlight demanded a brighter spotlight for her for this coverage. Wow. She's a ghost. You know what, Matt? That's a really good point. And remember, they didn't say Cobb's name either at first. Remember that. They didn't say Cobb's name either at first. They didn't say Ricky Starks' name at first. So very, very fair. Very, very fair. Oh yeah, we're gonna get to Raw. We're gonna get to Raw, Jack. Don't worry about it. We're gonna get to Raw because I got some things to say about it. I got some things to say about Raw. Oh, they're showing the Vengeance, right? Oh no, this is from last week. Oh yeah, yeah. This is where Steph lost the belt. Yo, they threw her in the Money in the Bank really, really fast there. What do y'all think? Y'all think she actually has a chance? No way, right? They're not going to give her the bank. I mean, here's the thing, right? Old school Money in the Bank booking that we love has happened more in the women's division than in the men's over the last half a decade or so, because for women it's still new, right? I mean, the number of Royal Rumbles for women, much fewer. Number of Money in the Bank for women, much fewer. Even like Elimination Chamber, much fewer. So JC, I forget what that other girl's name on the right, but she looks like another actress that. Yo, so Santana getting that first shot, huh? Yeah, I think they do, bro. I think they could. That's what I'm saying. Like, does she end up making it? Does she end up getting that pop? I don't know. We'll see. Yo, I can't wait for Worlds Collide. Just a heads up, we will be live this weekend. We're gonna do a whole marathon this weekend, guys. We start at 3 o'clock. Worlds Collide. I will be covering for fightsatw.com, fightsaroundtheworld.com. Shout out to Abe. We'll be covering that, and then we'll be covering Money in the Bank for sure as well. And I'll be live for both. And I've decided what I'm gonna start doing is while I'm live, right, and working, if y'all got questions on if you've ever wanted to like cover the sport or write or create content, for or go to boxing events or wrestling events and cover them as a journalist, I will answer any and all questions on Saturday pertaining to that, obviously after I am finished working. But yeah, anything from now on while I'm working, y'all have any questions as far as how to, I guess, break into the biz. I don't even know how to say it. I mean, there's a lot of ways at this point. I'm gonna rewind this real quick. My bad. Oh god, that was way too far. Yo, they say that all these call ups were because they were making room for him. They're gonna the fact that they had her in a match with Liv and shaking hands with Rhea says it all. Absolutely, bro. That says it all. You are absolutely right. Bro, Laredo Kid is gonna kill it on Saturday, bro. What do you think of Chad doing double duty Saturday? Bro, I cannot wait to talk about that fully in depth, but I'll just say it right now. I cannot wait to see what he does. I mean, here's the thing. They have to sell the whole, like, this is two different people, right? And they can absolutely do it. I would like to see this play out like this. I would like to see Chad Gable pick up an injury in his match with Vikingo earlier in the day at Worlds Collide. Okay. Then later in the evening, to sell the authenticity of him possibly would have won the night or the briefcase, I'd like for there to be a situation where he clears the ring. I mean, he doesn't have to, beat the shit out of all five guys, but clears the ring, and it is an easy path to the ladder. He starts to climb. Oh, the knee gives out, or the rib cage he can't reach. You know what I'm saying? Because I've hurt my ribs before. Okay, in football, I remember middle school, we were still doing two a days, bro. Okay, so this is like August heat in fucking Texas. And you could ask Matt, that Texas heat don't play, and I know the brothers over there, they be coaching football, and shit, even being a coach in the heat is enough to lose 5 pounds. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that it's like a thing where, oh, hold on. Let me just reply to see who's coming on. But yeah, I just want to see something where it's like sellable, like holy shit, he had a chance to win. You know, that would be awesome. That would be cool just to sell it. But I'll be honest, Matt, like I'm wondering what's going to happen because let's look at the qualifiers. I have the benefit of covering WWE TV from a week to week standpoint. And what I can tell you that a theme this year was in the qualifier, and I wrote about this in my fightsatw.com piece, which you can go to and check out. I wrote about this, how the underdog winning was a big theme throughout both the men and women's. Now, here's the thing. When you go into like King of the Ring or like Survivor Series, or like even Royal Rumble stuff, like Money in the Bank, like where there's like a qualifier and there's a men's side and a women's side, right? They're never booked the same. They're never they do something different. But the fact that throughout spread them all, you had these moments. And look, I could be looking too much into it. At the end of the day, Triple H clearly doesn't care, or I shouldn't say care because people keep saying that. That's not right to just say, "Oh, he doesn't care." I'm sure he cares. I'm sure he does. But I don't think he values, that's the right word, values Money in the Bank the way we do as fans. I don't think Triple H values it as much as we do. So it could be a situation where it was like, well, we know Rhea's gonna we want Rhea to have the Money in the Bank this year. And on the other side, we want Seth to have the Money in the Bank this year. So it doesn't matter who we put in. Let's just go ahead and throw in, you know what, throw in Gable's go ahead and throw in Gable's character or Gable, in there. Go ahead, do that. Might as well. He's not going to win. You know what? Just throw Andrade in there. He was good last year, so he'll probably make it exciting again. He has no chance to win, so just throw him in there. Like it was almost like either one of two things is going to happen. One, we're going to get the underdog story finished, which would be terrific. I think really, really awesome. Even if it's not the right guy, even if we all feel like they could have been a better choice, at least it continues in that narrative, right? But if it's just, if it's somebody that like makes, I guess if it's a favorite, let's put it that way. If it's a favorite that wins, then we'll know exactly what this whole thing was. And, we'll get even further confirmation that Triple H doesn't give a shit. But look, I think that there are very few people on the roster that can pull double duty like this, that can go out there and perform in two different styles and yet blend them so that the character, like it's still Gable, right? But it's Gable as a luchador, which, I mean, like I said, there's only a few guys on the roster that could pull this off. And I mean that in two ways. One, character-wise, which Gable's knocking out of the park, and he's not really been like a Mexican or luchador. Like none of it's really been offensive. He's just worn a mask and plays La Cucaracha, which believe me, that was offensive way before he got his hands on it. And so, you have this thing where he's done it really, really well, both characters, and not only can he do it as a character, but athletically, he can do the moves. It's very rare to have both of them. He's a regular Logan Paul. I'm just kidding. Logan sucks. No, he doesn't suck. Yo, they just like Javon. You wrestle as good as the luchadors. Just go out there with a luchador every time. Gable wrestles Vikingo at Worlds Collide and then Money in the Bank. Yeah, Gable wrestles Viking. Yeah. Seth or Solo is gonna win the Money in the Bank. The men's Money in the Bank is always the obvious or unexpected. Yeah, it really is. It's one or the other, right? Like, I think they often do a better job with the Money in the Bank winner initially than the Rumble. And the reason why is because you don't have to push as much behind the Rumble winner, right? The Rumble winner has all the rub. The Money in the Bank winner, there are times where there's like pushback. You know what I mean? Um, I think it's pronounced Otis, I think is how you say that. But there's been pushback plenty of times. So yeah, I don't know. It's always a toss up, and I'll be honest, it feels like it's obviously going to be Seth. I can't see it being Solo. I mean, I guess I could, but it's like, what is he going to do with it? Is he going to, I mean, listen, here's the thing. If Solo wins, I see them doing exactly what they did to Otis. And they're like, well, remember that briefcase is good for any belt. And Solo's like, I needs my United States belt back for no goddamn reason. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. Solo's where he's at with Jacob. Leave him there. Seth doesn't need the Money in the Bank, but the work does. The program needs it, I think. Yeah, we're gonna talk about boxing in the second hour, champ. We got wrestling that popped off tonight. So I mean, I know y'all just want to talk shit about Tio. Yeah. I see. I took the L on Mariah May, but I took that dub on Tio, and I told them, not y'all, because y'all are cool, right? I told them. I hope he pops on too. I hope he pops on. Yeah, because he was talking a lot of shit, right? Yo, I even let him get in my head to the point where I was talking to my brother this weekend, and he got me to say, yeah, at least Tio wants to fight everybody. That's what I said. I literally said those words. Yo, they just sending everybody out at the beginning. Larado.
I'll be ready because tomorrow night I have a chance to become the first ever WWE Men's Evolved Champion. And next Tuesday, I have a chance to become this home.
Yep, they're sending everybody out. Bro, I told everybody. Yo, he's not lying. Stephanie is also doing double, but she's in a tag at least. Oh shit, bro, I forgot. Yo, dude, you're right. They got that rocket on her back, bro. You are so right. Yo, I get the Mean Street Posse vibes from these guys. Y'all remember them Connecticut dorks that Shane used to bring out to just take massive bumps from the Undertaker? Oof. Bro, Saturday is gonna be fire. Fire. Yo, we're gonna have a cornhole tournament too on Saturday. And we're probably gonna play Hold'em a little bit too. Cause this is like this community's dream, right? To have a meaningful wrestling show, a meaningful MMA show, and a meaningful boxing show. The question is what to look forward to the most as a hybrid fan, such as myself. Matt, I would ask you the same question because you know all three well enough to gauge their interest. Is Sean O'Malley a big enough draw after losing to get his get back? Is Money in the Bank a big enough draw with John Cena and Logan Paul at the helm and having a gimmick match, always attract the casuals? Or is 80% of the Davis brothers on a card the bigger draw? Again, two of them in their biggest matches ever, or toughest, let's say that. I don't know. Can't call it. What you think, Matt? Yo, I would love to talk to somebody, anybody in the community, anybody to pop on if they've ever been to the Fanatics thing. I'd love to know what you spend at something like that. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been to plenty of conventions and stuff, but over the years, I have definitely gotten away with bargain deals over there. Specifically in Texas, right? Because a lot of times they're at arenas that I've covered before. And so maybe I can get in the door, but that's about it. Right. Or maybe I paid to get in the door, but then I run into the, HR or PR person for the venue. And I'm like, hey. And, maybe they have a really special relationship with like Mick Foley or Booker T. And they're like, come on, meet Booker. Maybe something like that's happened. But also more than that, right? Actually, that's happened very few times. What happens more often is my dad is a big he works for corporate for a very large convenience store branch. And if you didn't guess it the first time in your head, you guessed it the second time in your head. But the likelihood is you guessed it the first time. And so that connection gets me stuff. I mean, he gets to go to Vegas every year and meet like every big UFC fighter that is on a can of X Science or uh Monster or whatever. So yo, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm really not, but man, I only got like an hour and a half tonight. So no, we'll normally watch the whole NXT though. All right, we'll normally watch the whole thing. Yo, I hate Jack in the Box now. It make my stomach hurt. Yo, y'all know what happened? Y'all want me to tell y'all what happened today? Tell me if this has ever happened to you. This is so fucked up. Look, I'm a nice guy, right? I'm not saying like I'm cute or handsome or charming or anything like that, but I am nice. I'm courteous. Let's put it that way. So when I am at a restaurant or like at a fast food chain or a restaurant where like they're really busy, I am usually courteous because I've worked in that kind of industry before that gets busy at 5 o'clock. And so I know how it can get, and so I'm chill. I'm chill for the most part. Yo, I ordered this thing from Taco Palinka, right? If you don't know what that is, it's a Mexican restaurant or it's a Mexican food chain. Anyway, I ordered it and it came with a side of chado beans, but I wanted refried beans. Okay. Now it's a side, like a little thing like this, right? I told her, and this is the manager, by the way, because she was working. I don't know, they were short staffed, I guess. And I was like, can I get that exchange for refried beans? And she goes, no, no, the food's packed. It wasn't packed. It wasn't packed. They were literally working on it. I didn't say anything. I was like, okay. I go, well, then I guess I'll just buy the refried beans on the side. Yo, she literally said, well, then you're going to wait in line with everyone else. Yo, I said, fuck that. Yo, I didn't fuck around. I called Taco Palinka straight up. I used to live in Laredo. We used to know the people that owned it. I mean, we don't know them anymore, but when I used to live in Laredo and went to school there, bro, we ate Taco Palinka all the time. There was a Taco Palinka was like Whataburger. It was in Laredo and in the Valley. It was everywhere. And they had a Taco Palinka Junior. They had a Taco Palinka fucking Senior. They had a Taco Palinka Abuela. I mean, everything, bro. Everything. My love. Huh? Okay. Of course. Of course. 100%. Love you. You going to bed or what? Okay. Yo, they they're promoting Mark Kriegel's book on Mike Tyson. It's a Baddest Man, the making of Mike Tyson. Mark Kriegel, who I'm sure you all know, or at least the boxing crowd will know from ESPN, and his work as a commentator and a journalist and a reporter for basically everything boxing. But that's pretty cool. Yeah, I want to see Tyra May Steele. What do we know about Tyra May Steele? Nah, I didn't see LFG though. I mean, I watched some of it, but I didn't get to see all of it. So she was the winner, I guess. Is that what y'all saying? Yeah. Olympic gold medalist. I'm assuming like wrestler or track star or what? Nah, she too muscular to be a track star. I mean, I don't mean muscular. I mean like thick, bulky, muscular. Not like I mean, fucking track stars are jacked as shit. Yeah, so I want to talk to y'all about what I think is going to be going on in the women's division, okay? Because NXT has a lot of really solid they have a deep women's roster. And as these call-ups continue, I think we are headed towards a civil war in the women's division, specifically amongst the former and not former. Obviously, they're still top talent like Alexa Bliss and Charlotte. But if you'll notice something over the last like 3 weeks, right? Anytime someone like Julia or Tiffany is on the mic or doing anything, even Roxana Perez, it is at the cost of one of the veterans. Okay. And we've already seen Alexa Bliss and Charlotte having these conversations that are meant to be the back end of a off-air conversation. And anytime that happens in WWE or even wrestling as a whole, the off-air conversations are always of note. They are always principled parts of a storyline. Even think about something as silly, or not silly, it was fucking crazy, but even think of something like Kane and Paul Bear and Undertaker and that storyline with the mother and the house burning down. If you were old enough to remember that or historian enough to remember that, God have mercy on your soul if you were a child like I was. But that said, that was an off-air conversation. Yes, it took place on WWE TV, but if you'll remember when it took place, they were supposed to be off air. And when they came back, they actually apologized. Commentary apologized and made it seem like it was just like a big screw up. But the point I'm making is that the off-air conversations are always dubious, or they're always important. There's a deal made or a handshake or something or another cooking. So we know that whatever Alexa Bliss and Charlotte spoke about off air, wherever that conversation began, it is clearly going to continue to develop as we've seen each week. And if you'll remember that same week where Alexa Bliss came back to win the Money in the Bank qualifier, and she saw Charlotte later that next week, or maybe even later on in that show, after Charlotte lost her match, Alexa was seen talking to her doll. It was half commercial, half storyline, and the part of the storyline was she's telling the doll, like, you need friends. See, that wouldn't happen if you have friends. And Charlotte's like, yeah, you got something to say? Or she says something. She's like, oh, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the commercial. And so she, they're in this position where they're clearly like Alexa Bliss is trying to like foresee something. And it makes sense because her storyline was supposed to connect to the Wyatt Six. And they are the, spooky, like fourth dimension, like message channeling, group. And so you keep Alexa Bliss in that same sort of vein, but she's obviously not a member of Wyatt Six. Yeah, but see, and I'm not trying to hate, but the reason they were all stunned uh is because Stephanie lost. It wasn't like nobody was like, "Oh my god, Jay's like it was great." Like it was cuz Stephanie lost. Everybody went crazy cuz Stephanie lost. Ryan Garcia declares he will be back after hand injury surgical repair. Yeah, probably. So anyway, you got Jordan Grace, right? You got Julia, you got Mariah May, Roxana Perez, Stephanie Vakura. I don't know if she ends up playing into the storyline or not, but I really feel like there's this civil war storyline that will take place. And if you listen to the promos from the young side, and I don't, young is a weird word because it's not even like they're all that much younger, but let's say the up and comers. If you hear the promos from the up and comers, they're very condescending in a very specific way, right? Like they use very like Gen Z terminology against, the Alexa Blisses and the Charlottes and stuff like that. And they do it in a way that is supposed to like show us the age difference. They're trying to make us aware of the new blood and the old blood. And here's the other part of it. You can't just bring all these women up at, around the same time and it not be a storyline. Like how could you, like, imagine you're at work, right? And you're like a construction worker, or let's just say construction worker, and there's like you're on site, right? And it's like a team of like 25 of you, and then all of a sudden half of you are gone and another 30 are there, and now you're working with 45 people and you only know a third of them, and you went from everybody's a family, like, rah rah rah, we're all trying to get to the top together, to I don't know what that bitch's what her mentality is, or what her goals are, or how much she's about this team, right? I don't know. I can't really trust her like that. And so you have this situation where if you don't address it in storyline, what a big miss. What a big whiff that would be, to not, and this has nothing to do, by the way, because I think I talked to Matt or Abe about this earlier. This has nothing to do with like oh, women, they be shopping. Like, this isn't even that. Like, oh, you put a bunch of women in an elevator and they're eventually gonna, fight. That's not that at all. It's with anybody. Yo, Jordan Grace is so jacked. Crazy. I would love to like see what her shoulder workouts are. I'm sure she probably got stuff on like IG and stuff, but like, yo, I would love to like if she had like a $25 ebook or a $1999 ebook, like shoulders and arm workouts, bro, I would buy the shit out of it. Yo, Jada Parker, bro. Oh, you are the baddest bitch. Yo, my wife knows at this point. All right. My wife knows. Jada Parker, she's got a place right here. Okay? She knows. She's not mad. She understands. You know? She loves AJ, but really mostly just his hair. But she knows that Jada Parker, she Lash legend, bro. God damn, this roster's deep. Yo, shout out Johnny. What is going on? Johnny Autism Wrestling? That's what's up, bro. I miss Vince McMahon. We need back Triple H and TKO is hurt. Wait, I miss Vince McMahon. We need back Triple H and TKO is horrible. I hate the sponsor in the ring, and Vince McMahon will never have our truth. Will never have our truth. Not in a million years. We need Vince back. Here's the thing, Johnny. I think we should remember that there were a number of guys that were cut under the Vince administration that we all loved as well, right? So this isn't like the first time it's happened. And here's the other thing. First of all, I agree with you that Triple H is responsible for this. He should have had his back. He, of all people, should know how valuable our truth was to specifically my demographic. And I'm not even trying to make it about me, but I mean, kids loved him, adults loved him, parents loved him. Like he was the sports entertainment aspect of the whole thing. And he'd been that, by the way. Oh shit. How did I fucking miss it? God damn it. Yo, that's crazy. And then it was Kalani Jordan, and then it was Lash. Lash was the last one, I think. Yeah, Lash, and then they're gonna go to her. But yeah, real quick. Look, again, I don't want to discredit what you're saying because I agree. Triple H era has not been the purest type of booking that we hoped it would be, but at the same time, a lot of things are better, right? I mean, I think we can say that. I think unequivocally, people like Stephanie Vaquera wouldn't be getting this push right now. I don't know if Vince pushes Penta, but if he does, it's only to sell enough shirts and masks until he's done with them. I mean, so I don't know. I think that even if Vince came back, he would be beholden to TKO. TKO, it is over. The era of WWE as we knew it, like run like a one-man army, that's over forever. It is now a Walmart or a Target, and it'll run as such. And just like Walmart's price hikes, it's all about the bottom line. They can Olive Garden can make a commercial and sell a catchy tagline, but no matter what, every time you walk in that door, you are paying your bill, and that is not family. So, I don't know. It's a corporation now. It's a corporation. Road Dogg blamed the bean counters and then is deleted it magically like an hour or two later. Like, come on, we know what happened. All right, Lash Legend, the baddest of them all. Second behind Jada Parker. Damn, Jada Parker. Jada Parker is like the kind of girl you could take to like go work out, and then you could take her to Chipotle afterwards, and then like y'all could go watch a movie. She's like just like chill like that. Like the rest of these girls, you probably have to like take them to like a fucking Michelin starred restaurant and like probably have to like clean your apartment and like God forbid there's a ring on your tub. Fucking stuck up. Oh, they brawled before. Oh, this is cool. This is cool. But then how do the girls get out of the ring? They're all fighting. Everybody. This is definitely a way to whoa. Wow, what a debut. Holy shit. Yeah, they're going crazy for her. Damn. She said the finally.
You can call me the next NXT Women's
Here's the problem. You can't put a rocket on everybody. You know? Someone's going to have to get thinned out of the herd.
because the best women's division in the world just got a lot more glamorous.
That's the second time they said glamorous. Wow. Wow, what a debut. I mean, here's the thing. She barely did anything. She barely did anything, and yet that was a home run. They loved her. That's the mark of a star. Johnny said, "I'm sick of this TKO group. They don't care about the wrestlers or fans. Long as R-Truth was with the company, to just let him go like that, just disrespectful. I swear if they get rid of the Miz, yeah, bro, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. The disrespect is what it feels. And here's the thing. You're absolutely right. It is disrespectful to R-Truth, 100%. But it's also disrespectful to us. It's disrespectful to start selling a shirt, right, that becomes the hottest selling shirt in the company, meaning that the fans are behind them, right? Because that's how we show our support. That's how we cast our vote, right? Because wrestling isn't, politics in the sense of we go every November, whatever, to cast a vote. No, we get to cast a vote if we want every single day of our life. And we do that by buying the shirts, buying the figs, buying all the merch that they have to offer for a specific superstar. And when R-Truth shirt is at such a high popularity, that's the fans telling you, we love this guy. We want more of this guy. Give him more TV time, because that's the other part about it. R-Truth was so beloved and so over, and yet how long had it been since he'd really had anything to actually do? Sure, he was a big comedy act in, a lot of big angles like the Judgment Day and most recently John Cena, but where were his title runs? Other than the tag title thing that they did with Miz, which was, let's be honest, just a payoff because they were doing the Ruthless Aggression documentary. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if it's as simple as this new group is disrespectful to wrestlers, because that mentality was always there. And maybe it's gotten turned up a notch because of the, group, this holdings group and things like that. Because let's be honest, the bigger you get, the harder it is to stay that lovable indie company or whatever, right? The bigger you get, the more money complicates everything. And it is very expensive to put on the shows that they put on. And it is very expensive to haul the production stuff all around the country. And so that's why house shows will begin to fade out. And that's why Raw and SmackDown may end up, at a set location like WCW used to do Saturday night. And I would fucking hate it all. Somebody on Twitter said to me this past week during one of my lives, and they said that with the death of house shows will come the death of finding those diamonds in the rough like R-Truth. Now, I don't know how much rough R-Truth was in. You know, the guy was always jacked, always flamboyant, always had a flair. And even if early on he was more of a serious, like badass type of character, if you knew him at all backstage, from what I've heard, then you knew he had it in him. You knew that character was there. So again, I say that while it is very much disrespectful to R-Truth, and it is that counts more than everything, it's disrespectful to us to not have made it a career versus title. Why not tell the truth? Why not be honest with Ron Killings and say, hey, look, you know, we love you, man. You know, we love you, but we just really don't have anything for you. And we know you're worth more than that. And we know that you could do a lot more instead of being on the bench here. So we're not going to renew your contract. But look, we are going to give you the John Cena match. And we'd like to give you the run. We really would. We're going to give you a month and we're going to put you over on Raw, SmackDown. You're going to beat, you know, Gunther, you know, maybe even Jay in a non-title triple threat match. Who knows? And then at the very end, John Cena will get over on you and you will do your thing to give him the heat. And there is no excuse for not going through it with that, because R-Truth would have never, ever in a million years sandbagged that performance. R-Truth would have gone in there and given everything he's got to John Cena and most importantly to the fans. It ended up being a career versus non-title. How sad that the title wasn't even on the line, and nor was the career. And in the end, he kept it anyway, and R-Truth lost his. You know, I don't know. Maybe they thought it'd be disrespectful to use him in a storyline, but isn't that the most flattering honor? You know, allowing The Undertaker to leave his hat and gloves, even though he's going to come back. You know, letting Flair cry in the ring, Shawn cry in the ring during their supposed last matches. Why shouldn't R-Truth deserve that? Oh shit! No, Ricky Saints is hurt. Yikes, bros! Yikes! Wow. All right, we'll just leave this from this commercial. The Apple TV remote is so sensitive. I hate it. Wait, what'd you say?
I'm the reason that he's going to carry around all that anger for the rest of his life.
Yeah, they were mad. They were mad. I don't know why, but they were mad. I mean, I saw it coming, but does Mariah May have to be given the title right away? No, I don't think so. I would though. I would, honestly. Like, here's the thing. The one constant that right now exists in pro wrestling, whether it's AEW or WWE or NXT, there is a time period that must be given at the beginning of that run that proves to the higher ups that you're willing to do the job. You have to get beat before you can start to win. You know, we saw it happen with Cody. It's still happening with Will Ospreay. You know, you gotta do the job. That's the honorable thing. And I get it. I do. I understand. I played baseball all my life growing up. There are no more rules in any other sport that are more tedious than the ones in baseball. You know, no bat flips and, you know, just like little tedious things that are ridiculous, right? But they're the rules. They are the rules. And that's how things have gone historically forever. And so to suggest that like the rules be changed or whatever, that's not my place, but mix it up a little. You know, if somebody's supposed to be a badass, then they're a badass. When Ronda Rousey came over from Strikeforce to UFC, I mean, it's not the same thing because UFC didn't have a women's division at the time, but she she was the baddest, and everybody knew it. And she didn't need a learning curve. She didn't need time to get adjusted or acclimated. She was ready to go. You look at the career of a guy like Lomachenko. Yeah, he failed early out the gate. Took too much of a step up, fought too much of a veteran, but he was ready out the gate. Ready out the gate. He absolutely belonged in that fight. It was a close fight. It was a good fight. And you know, any other ref that night, and it could have been different. It very much could have been different. You look at the job that Jonathan Taylor did with Fulgrim and Beck this weekend, and you put him in that position, and fucking, I don't know, Salido wins that fight. Dragon Lee pulling double duty, NXT, WWE. Dragon Lee is found in a precarious situation, I think, if you think about it, right? Here's a guy who's absolutely talented, was around a bit in the Vince era, right? Yeah. Um, they got the AAA guys just sitting right over ringside. That's hilarious. Mr. Iguana. So yeah, now he finds himself in a position where he's like not the new toy out the box, right? So I could see some like problematic facets to his overall coverage. I mean, push. I meant all ego Ethan Page. Oof. They're gonna crown the Evolve champion tomorrow. Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Let me see. What'd you say? Seth Rollins wins Money in the Bank. Okay, yeah, you know what? And I'm so glad you said that because I would like to address that situation. So last night on Raw, right? There was a situation where Sami Zayn came out to CM Punk, and it was a little sus. Not in a weird way. Just sus. You know, Anytime there's a part in the script where you have to say, I need you got to be careful with that line. It just came off like, I don't know, here's the thing. Sammy came off looking like a little bit of a dork in that. I didn't like that. I didn't like that it was like Sam. And here's the thing. Punk was generous. He said something about his music early on. That's a little thing, but that kind of stuff means something to Punk. He's an old school guy. When he tells you, yo, your entrance music is rocking, he's basically saying, like, yo, you got one of the great entrance musics. Like, you know, this is hype. And he's also acknowledging the fans' love for him, right? Because today, I talked about merch sales being the way that we show wrestlers how much we love them or care about them, but really we also show them in their theme music. Cody Rhodes, like that shit, they love him. Seth Rollins, they love him. The Jey Uso, good God, they love him. And Sami Zayn, they have been singing along to his music since he came up from NXT, and they never stopped, except for when it wasn't the face music anymore. And so anyway, You have Sammy come out last night, right? And he tells us, or he tells CM Punk, we need you to win. There is no more important time in wrestling right now than right this moment, because the most diabolical threat to this company is currently underway. And we have to band together. The faces that care about the future of this company, we have to band together so that we ensure there is a future for the rest of wrestling and the fans that come 100 years from now. It needs to exist in the same way that the NFL has longevity or MLB has longevity. We have to secure the future of wrestling. And I said, yes, finally, thank God they are doing what is necessary to get over this John Cena program. He was talking about Seth Rollins. He was talking about Seth Rollins winning the Money in the Bank. And while I can understand, well, I can understand the, well, I can understand the frustration and the concern of a mad scientist, let's call him, the crazy architect that is Seth Rollins, all of a sudden acquiring the talents and brute force of men like Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, who over the past 16 months have proven they are some of the most dangerous men on the roster right now. Certainly on Raw, too. I get it. They're a threat, and they're a threat all by themselves. So when you throw Paul Heyman in there, then you have a faction that is cooking on all cylinders. They got the brutes, they got the versatile 5-star guy in Seth, and they got the master negotiator, the master planner, the master wheeler and dealer, the master gaslighter in Paul Heyman. What did Brock Lesnar say? I'm not going to say it. That's racist. But it's true. You need a guy like Paul. You need him. Or here's the thing. I don't know if you need him, but you're certainly more dangerous with him. Faces one. Now, while I get all that, it's John Cena that has the belt, guys. It's John Cena who started his Batman villain-esque plot to start the time bomb that's counting down as we speak. I don't know how many appearances he has left. I probably guess around 21, maybe 22. I could be wrong, but I know at last count, I remember it was like 27. And the way this storyline should go down is that he keeps continuing to have the belt, and then we get down to 5, and then we get down to 4, and then we get down to 3, and then it's like, okay, he's only going to defend the belt here and there. He's got 3, we got 2 opportunities in those 3 appearances. We need to figure this out. And yet that's not it. There is no urgency right now from the locker room. And should be the number one storyline. Now, I understand that it shit the bed bad at WrestleMania. But I don't know if we should continue to lay the blame at John Cena's feet when Rock was the most responsible. Rock was the one that ruined WrestleMania, despite how much credit John Cena's character wants to take for it. John Cena didn't ruin wrestling. The Rock ruined it. And if anything, John Cena could take the credit, and that's fine. But I don't know if we should continue to give him the repercussions. Why should John Cena be blamed alone? If wrestling fans don't want to show up and show out and are pissed at The Rock, don't go watch his fucking movie. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to watch it because it looks fucking good. But I don't know if blaming John Cena is the right move anymore. Now, certainly it hasn't been our fault that it's been such terrible booking. And let's be honest about another thing. Our truth has been the best thing about John Cena's final tour. I don't care what anybody else wants to say about it. It is the truth. The Cody match was obviously the biggest thing, but I can tell you I had a lot more fun in the first 5 minutes of the R-Truth and Cena match than I did with the Cody and Cena match. The Cody and Cena match made zero sense. At least the R-Truth and Cena had a believable story. Yo, shout out the champ. Yo, he said, call me Dolo Mike. Yo, he said, Cena, these nuts. That's what I'm saying, bro. But them nuts too old and they hanging too low because my man is just teabagging everybody in the locker room right now with his bullshit. And that was the other thing. Like Punk shouts him out. Punk talks shit about him, calls him a bitch or no, I think he called Cena a bitch. He called Rock an old fraud, an old bald fraud. But y'all gonna do nothing, then don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's dumb to have these competing narratives at Money in the Bank. The title's not on the line at Money in the Bank. And yet Seth presents the most dangerous facet. No. The most dangerous thing that is taking place at Money in the Bank is the fact that John Cena is wrestling, making one of his couple dozen final appearances and not defending the title. The locker room should be thinking what I'm thinking. This guy's about to run away with the title. This guy's about to steal the legacy of the belt. Imagine if the WBC came out tomorrow and said, you know what, we're going to change the green belt to the turquoise belt. And it's going to be a new belt. We're going to call it the WBC ass later. And we're going to get rid of the old W. You know the one Muhammad Ali had? Yeah, we're going to get rid of that one. Yeah, or the one that De La Hoya had? Yeah, that one. No, we're going to get rid of it. Yeah. No, I know Pernell Whitaker had it too, and so did Sugar Ray Robinson. Yeah, Leonard also. Sure, Hagler did too, but we're getting rid of it. Why? Why do you keep asking? Yes, we understand that the greatest heavyweights era have held the WBC title, but we're going to throw it in the trash. I don't know what to tell you. That is essentially what John Cena is doing. And mind you, I don't think John Cena is going to walk away with the title, obviously. But mind you, if he were to walk away with the title, that would leave the current heavyweight title as the only title available. I want you to look right here. You see that thing right there? That's the real heavyweight title. I mean, not the real one. It's the real one I bought, but it's the real replica one. That don't look like the thing that's around Jey Uso's shoulder these days. All right, champ? It's not the same belt. It doesn't carry the legacy that it had from WCW or NWA or guys that's like Sting that held it, or Hogan or Flair or Vader or all the greats and legends. That's not that belt. So what would happen if John Cena were to walk away from the sport with the title would essentially make AEW's championship the most legitimate championship in North America. It's just simply based on who's held it and the legacy. And you couldn't argue that. You could not tell me that the second tier belt, the heavyweight title, as it currently stands in WWE, is more legitimate than the AEW title. If the world title were to be delegitimized or retired or whatever word you want to use. And so how that doesn't strike fear into if that doesn't strike fear into every member of the roster, then I don't know what would. I mean, it's like John Jones were to be like, yeah, I'm going to retire the belt. And I put it in my contract. Dana's not going to create a new one. This is mine. There's just not going to be another division over 200. Sorry. I'm just going to keep the belt. They should do that, by the way, to John Jones. He should be stripped at this point. He's held the belt hostage long enough. He's a legend. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He can take that. But this is still a sport that, has fans that want to watch the heavyweight championship take place in the UFC. But that said, I don't know. I guess I just don't think that the narrative that's currently going on, the top narrative of Raw, I just don't see that it makes any sense at all. I really don't. And for Seth Rollins and everything they're doing, it's terrific. He's got a plan. He sees a bigger picture. He doesn't give a shit about John Cena because he knows that John Cena is going to be here for 20 something more shows and that's it. He's gone. He's worried about the future and he's trying to secure that for himself. That's fine. That's fine. Maybe he doesn't give a shit about the title anymore. You know, maybe he's on Rock status now, final boss status. But the faces absolutely should care. Everyone else should care that isn't in that faction, that isn't already being taken care of. And by the way, that faction needs a fucking name yesterday, bro. Like 5 yesterdays ago. Why they don't have a name, I have no idea. Now, I'll say this. I would have rather waited this long for a name than it be something like stupid crazy. I don't know. I don't know what it could even be. I got a tagline for him. You remember did y'all ever see Clueless and the part where they're at the show? It's like rolling with the homies. That could be like the part of their song that starts Rollins and the homies. That would be hard. That would go super hard. Yo, Santana's a fucking G, bro. He's just like a Puerto Rican, New York tough guy. I would rather him be a heel than a face, but whatever. Anyway, moving on. Stephanie Vaquer, man, she looked great last night. Cena gramping it. Yo, he's fucking bald as shit, bro. Stephanie Vaquer, dude, rocket on her back, money in the bank. I'm happy about it. I'm very, very happy about it because it was starting to feel a little bit like the women's Money in the Bank had all of the story, but not much of the sizzle. I don't think that didn't make any sense. Stephanie's going to rock out in that match. I don't really love that she's pulling double duty. I think that's asking too much of her. Chad Gable is a guy who's been in the company for a very long time. Yeah, we're going to get to boxing champ. We'll talk about Tio. We'll talk about Tio champ. But she's Gable's been in the sport in the company a long time. He has done more than prove that he can handle double duty as even two characters, which is a lot tougher too, let's be honest. But Stephanie, on the other hand, has not been with the company very long. She hasn't even been with the company very long if you count NXT, but technically her debut was this past week. Now, a lot of people will point to the fact that she'd already wrestled post-Mania twice on Raw, I think, or was it Raw and SmackDown? Whatever, but she wrestled twice. Yeah, I mean it's true, but you know, she was called the NXT champion at the time. And you know, it was kind of booked like that. So I don't know. That wasn't an official call up, I would say. This has to be the most successful call up so far this year. If you look at Penta and you look at what Phoenix did, both of them outstanding debuts. I would say Penta was definitely more impactful, right? But there was no stakes for Penta. In fact, there were so little stakes that the match he had to debut on Raw and Netflix with Chad Gable has continued to be a booking and continue to be a feud. So I don't know, dude. I just feel like they're asking a lot of Stephanie in this position. However, if there's anybody on the roster that can do it, it's her. I mean, there are plenty of girls, I think, on the roster that could do it, but she is a woman who absolutely can make a banger of a tag team match on a lucha card at 3:00 and then come back at fucking 5 and tear the house down in a ladder match. Man, don't you for a second bet against Stephanie Vaquer. Don't you for a second do it. Bro, I'm rocking with her with Money in the Bank. I don't even give a shit. I don't care what the narratives are. I don't care who needs the Money in the Bank more. I'm rocking with Stephanie because she is that. what would be like the Spanish version? Doomy, are you still on? What would be the Spanish version of that bitch in Spanish? Because the only way I could think to say it would be very disrespectful to her. But like the English version of, you know, yo, she that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like the fucking man type shit. I don't know. I don't know how to say it, but whatever. That's what appeals. That's what very much she is classified under. She is a bad bee in any language. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what she ends up doing at Money in the Bank. We'll have an official Money in the Bank, breakdown. I'm gonna see if Abe can rock through either tomorrow or Thursday, whichever day he can do it. We'll do that, and then we're gonna have an official UFC 316 pick'ems on Thursday, as well as the Keyshawn Davis pick'ems on Thursday as well. I'm gonna try to make Thursdays like the podcast day. They had always been Wednesday, but it just doesn't work out. So Thursday will be like the official, like, infighting exchange, like, whole thing. And so I want to remind y'all too, please, if you haven't subscribed to the new channel, it's Infighting Exchange. It's spelt like Infighting FX. A lot of people, my wife told me nobody's going to know that FX is the, the symbol for the exchange rate for what's it called? And it means exchange, like FX. And so, yeah, she was right. A lot of people didn't get that. But that's okay. We're rocking. Infighting Exchange, spelled Infighting FX, INFIGHTINGFX. That's on YouTube. That's on TikTok. That's on Twitch. That's on IG. And that's on X. And I go live on every single one of those platforms. But it would really help if you subscribe to the YouTube, please. We go live Monday through Thursday. We didn't get to do the workout today, but we will do it tomorrow. I promise you. I'm going live earlier tomorrow, 2:00 for real this time. And we will definitely either rock out. Either we'll do the Money in the Bank tomorrow, and if Abe can do it Thursday, then I'll switch the UFC and the boxing until tomorrow. But we'll do official breakdowns for both those shows. We'll be live on Saturday for both those shows. As well as the Keyshawn Davis top rank, or the Money in the Bank and Worlds Collide. Yo, I'm going to be live from 3:00 till about midnight, 11:00. Yeah. So, yeah, come through. Please come through. Please come through. We'll be hanging out. Trust me. We've got a bunch of the crew coming through to my parents' place, the Mungia Casa, and yeah, cornhole, poker. I'm gonna do some giveaways. You know how I go. Mike Santana, bro, he looking all sorts of jack. I really wish they would have made that whole LAX thing work out in AEW, but Trick Williams. This is gonna be a dope little match. So anyway, where were we? Oh, Money in the Bank. Yeah, we'll do that. Another thing I wanted to talk about from Raw last night. Am I crazy that I think that they should be pushing a Halliburton Brunson match for SummerSlam, or maybe I guess Survivor Series? I think SummerSlam would work better. Is that crazy? Because on Raw last night, Michael Cole. First of all, you know what's hilarious about WWE? Last night they were in Oklahoma, or no, they were in Tulsa. Okay, so Tulsa, Oklahoma, and obviously Oklahoma City Thunder are in the finals, and they're going to be playing the the Pacers, Indiana Pacers. And if you didn't know, Pat McAfee, one of the commentators for Raw, used to play for Indianapolis, the Colts. He was the punter for many years. So he's huge in that town. They love him to death, and he supports every single one of the franchises there. And so, yeah, he's a big Pacers guy. He had a bet with Cole, who's a big Knicks guy, apparently. And they bet that if the Pacers won, Cole would have to wear a jersey, a Pacers jersey, all night on Raw, which he did. They kicked it off like that. CM Punk made a reference to, the Thunder rolls. Two of their games are on Monday and Friday, competing directly with wrestling. Hilarious that they do this every time. Hey, go Thunder and Pacers, but Don't watch them, watch us. But anyway, they put out a Halliburton shirt. If you didn't get to see any of the NBA finals, or if you don't watch basketball at all, in game one, the Knicks were up huge. I think it was like close to 20 or maybe even slightly above. They pulled one of the biggest choke moves in basketball in a really long time, or at least on that grand of a stage. And famously, Reggie Miller, who is one of the most famous and iconic Pacers of all time, had a game against the Knicks with a similar game script. And when he famously hit a 3-pointer and came back, he put his hands up to his throat to make like a choking symbol, like, y'all choked, mocking the fans as he ran back to offense. Tyrese Halliburton did the same thing, and it was iconic. And every single newspaper put it, in the main cover, and it took everything over. The first game was physical. Second game, a little less so. Third game, a little more so. Fourth game, not really at all. Knicks really was about getting back on track. Fifth game was utter domination. So when you look at that track record, right, they had the chance to possibly make something happen. Now, if you'll remember the Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman program, I can't remember the year, but it was WCW. And that was the year that they both met in the road to in the playoffs, right? They both met in the playoffs, and there was heat. Now, to be fair, I don't think anybody orchestrated it. Dennis Rodman, you didn't need, Vince McMahon booking a basketball match for Dennis Rodman to get into shit with someone. And a guy like Karl Malone, who played the game the way he did, a guy like Dennis Rodman would definitely strike him the wrong way. So it was kind of just the perfect storm, right? And smartly, Eric Bischoff, WCW, Dennis Rodman, and Karl Malone, along with DDP and I guess Hogan, all orchestrated one of the most massive crossover celebrity wrestling matches in history. Possibly the best, not excluding Bad Baby and Logan Paul, because those guys are freaks of nature. But yeah, they successfully pulled off. The match wasn't good, obviously, but the program was. Now, I'm not suggesting that Brunson and Halliburton could duplicate those kinds of things. Those were iconic. I mean, there's no one like Dennis Rodman. There's never been anyone like him, and there never will be. And that's fine. But Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton appeal to a younger fan base and a different demographic. And it might not be a demographic that's more willing to spend money, in the sense that they're not WWE guys, right? They're just basketball fans that I think would transfer over, just if nothing else, to see that. But there was some real heat that at least Halliburton picked up from the Knicks. And SummerSlam is where again? Oh, the East Coast. I know, Jersey's not really the same thing, but at the same time, I do think that you could get that Halliburton heat. Brunson is the kind of guy that I think they would even root for. Maybe, well, I don't know. Jersey, New York's got that whole fucking thing. So, but anyway, I think they should. Right now, they're selling the Halliburton shirt on WWE.com. You can go and support him. It is the choking thing, and it's an artist illustration, which is pretty cool. They kind of look like Santana with the dive outside. Yo, I like that they got the TNA belt on the NXT stand like that. That's crazy. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk we'd ever see it? Picture in picture.
Not here for the heat, just pair your go-to sauce and pasta. Or give our new bucatini a twirl. All starting at $12.99. So hand over that hot sauce and leave the heat to us. Easy, big, open your not too fast.
Okay, so I want to talk about another aspect real quick of Raw before we move on to boxing. I want to talk about Karrion Cross and all the great work he's doing. He needs so much. He deserves so much more right now. He really does. But I don't know where they're going. I don't know where they're going with him. It's weird because there's been opportunity, but I really don't know if I'd even call it opportunity. I mean, yes, he was given at least something to do during Mania weekend. Um, that wasn't on Mania, right? And then he was given this big interview that was on Ariel Helwani. So it's like a bunch of little these different spots that definitely they're trying to get him attention, but he successfully turned the New Day heel. And then they just abandoned that with him at least. He was responsible for quite a few, you know, bad guy misgivings. The Miz, who we'll definitely talk about in just a second. So yeah, I think Karrion Cross I think it's time he deserves something for sure. Where they're going with Sammy, I don't know. I mean, I think he's gonna turn. I think it's safe to say that Sammy turns, right? But is it because of Karrion Cross? I don't know. I don't know. I can't call it right now. All I know is that since Mania and since the night after Jay won the title, Sammy has been giving vibes that are of the heelish kind. Um yeah, so Karrion Cross. I want to talk now about the Miz real quick before we move on to boxing. The rumor has gotten to the big guys, right? As of like Sunday and even early Monday, uh the hold on. Yo, yo, what's up? Uh, I was calling to see if you wanted to come on the live. No, I was calling to see if you wanted to come on the live. I can't hear him. Anyway, yeah, so the story about Miz leaving popped up and hold on, let me just text my brother real quick. I had told my brother to come through with all right, told him to come up with a parlay, like a weekend parlay that matches up both the MMA and boxing. Um but I was telling him that we'll do the show for the parlay either tomorrow or Thursday. But yeah, we're gonna come up with something. We're gonna come up with something for the community that we can all put something on. So anyway, yeah, the Miz story was getting coverage like on Reddit and X and a lot of other smaller, people were talking and commenting on it. Uh, Nobody ever picked it up, like none of the big boys, right? The only person I remember even commenting on it early on was Sean Ross Sapp, who basically quote tweeted a story about the Miz leaving or him getting rid of all his WWE associated social media. And he said, this is a nothing story or something to that regard, making it seem like it wasn't a big deal. So I didn't pay attention anymore. A lot of people talked about Gunther. He did the same thing or something very similar, I think. And nobody cried poo poo about that because he just signed a 5-year deal, as Machine Gun Matt reminded me earlier in the week, making it very, very unlikely that he is, leaving anywhere. But, who knows? Maybe he went and said, hey, am I winning the title back? Or who knows? I'm just speculating. That's probably not what happened. But As of today, there are a few reporters that have decided to comment on what we've seen with the Miz, and I think it's mostly because now we know what has happened with R-Truth and Santana. We know that there is a aspect of it that was about just straight business, but part of that was the business of making room for more talent, for younger talent to come in. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are they done with just R-Truth and Carlito? And if there is any trend there, then it is older wrestlers who probably have richer contracts than most of the younger guys. So Miz would definitely fall in that line of guys who are sparsely used these days, but never really kept far from like interesting or major storylines. Um, but Miz is part of an old guard that is disappearing more and more. Right now as it stands, Randy Orton and John Cena are the oldest current rostered wrestlers aside from the Miz. And if the Miz leaves and John Cena's done in 20 something dates, then you're left with Randy Orton. And I think that Randy's a guy who will probably never go anywhere else. But I would have said that about R-Truth a year ago or the Miz a couple weeks ago. So I don't know if he's going anywhere, but I will say that there is an interest to me in a guy like the Miz going to like New Japan or AEW. And I know everybody jumps on like, oh, whoever leaves AEW or WWE first, it's immediately let's talk about them going to the other company. I get that. And that's boring and I don't like doing it a lot. But I think that there's a narrative right now that it's assumed the Miz could only ever get over in wrestling in a WWE ring. I don't think that's true at all. I think that the Miz has incredible talent. And I think that the PG era held him back a lot. I think if you look at the history of The Miz and where his character has gone, you can absolutely point at moments that it was like, man, if they let him off the leash or if they let him out the cage on that one, whew, where would he have taken it? And he's a guy that can draw real heat. And let's be honest, you all want that MJF Miz showdown. You know it. You just wanted to see it in WWE. And I get that. I get it. That's a fair point. Or maybe at least you never thought you'd get it anywhere but WWE, and that's a fair point too. But I think it's something that could get over even if nobody knew who those two were. I think casual fans that, or even first time fans that don't even know either guy, would find interest in a storyline like that. I think they'd bring out the best in each other in that regard. Maybe not, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I don't want him to leave, but if he is leaving, I am very, very excited the potential of seeing him somewhere else. Like I said, mostly because I never thought I'd see him anywhere else. But yeah, I think we can move on to boxing. We only got the one topic today. Teofimo Lopez runs like a bitch. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about this. Listen, I'm from a different era. That has to be said first and foremost. Anytime a fighter didn't fight the guy, that was it. No matter how interesting fans found the fight in question, if there were negotiations and they broke down and they could be associated to one side more than the other, then that person got the blame. And I don't really even care that Teofimo's not fighting Haney. It's not that I didn't want that fight. I did want that fight. I actually like that fight more than Boots. A lot of people wanted the Boots fight, and I get it. They're both fighting welterweight in their last few fights out. But I don't think people give enough respect to becoming acclimated to a division. I don't think Teo is the welterweight puncher that he will be like a year from now, or maybe 6 months from now. I also don't know how well Boots is making that weight anymore. And again, I mean, the last look, what we have to go on would suggest otherwise, right? It would suggest that they should fight and they can fight. And I do think they could. I think it would be a good fight. I just don't think it's as even as it would be having them fight at a weight that they're both more comfortable at. Now, a catch weight, as they talked about, would have been a fair thing to do for sure. But listen, Pacquiao fought catch weights because he was so far out of his depth. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just giving the truth. You know, Canelo and Mayweather fought at a catch weight because they were in two different weight classes and considered two of the best in those weight classes. And we were going to have them, meet in the middle, is how they say it. But Teofimo and Haney have other fights in their weight class. Why are we already giving them catch weight fights? One of them wants to become a star, a pay-per-view star, because they feel like there's nothing left to gain from ring accolades. When you've already become the undisputed champion in your mind, twice in your mind, then yeah, I guess there's not a lot to fight for in the ring other than money. But ultimately, there is still a legacy to be created. T.O.'s a Hall of Famer. If he retired tomorrow, I believe T.O. is a Hall of Famer. I also don't think that he's proven he's the best of this era in any of these weight classes. Not really. I mean, there's just so many fights you could still point to that have left unfought. So if your plan is to either become a bigger star to make the Haney fight bigger, or have Haney become a bigger star, or both of you become a bigger star to make that fight, then what fights do we fight in the interim? Somebody has to take the gamble. And these are the two guys that did, right? These are the two guys that fought Lomachenko. And we can't get him in the ring anymore. Could it be because somebody was giving a shit ton of money to fights that didn't deserve it? Could it be because you got those same guys used to the kind of money they saw on, that infamous Cinco de Mayo Friday or whatever day it was? I can't say that that's for sure, but all I know is they got a good check for not having to fight anyone of the caliber of Teofimo or Haney. But what's crazy to me about all this is immediately I saw the Teo fandom. And Oscar, by the way, said this, why would somebody choose to fight a dancer, a guy who's going to run all night, a guy who's going to blah, blah, blah all night? And these are just excuses. These are just excuses. That's all they are, and in all likelihood, look, first of all, Teo's not scared to fight Haney. That's ridiculous. If it's a duck, it's not a duck because he was scared. It's a duck because he is overvaluing his worth. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening. This could all be negotiation at the end of the day. But if the fight does not happen in August and it ends up happening in September or October or November, then we know that Teo is a master negotiator. If this fight doesn't happen, then it was ducked. And money may have been the sole reason, but it's still a duck. The fact that fans would leap to somebody's defense claiming that, oh, it's the wrong fight, or that's what they're saying, that it's too tough a fight. That's what you're saying when you're saying that Haney would run. You can, if you know how to cut off the ring, you can find a way. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying that it's going to be a fun fight that way, but that is part of boxing. And if you're saying you cannot beat that, or if that's too much of a risk for the reward, then champ, you're admitting something that I don't think you really want to admit. Look, I don't think that Teo should be blamed for wanting to be valued more, but I do think that the value will not come without taking those fights. You want a Ryan Garcia. That's what you want, right? A lot of money for not as hard a day at work. I don't know. I'm not the kind of fan that's like, oh, that's a good enough excuse. When did we get so involved in the business of boxing that we allow it to cloud our judgment when it comes to the best fighting the best? Right. And I do it too. Like, this isn't me like, oh, shame on y'all. Not at all. I do it all the time where I overlook something. Like, oh, look, I just did it with Canelo and Skull. And even though I was wrong, and I admit I was wrong, I should have never overlooked that fight. It was terrible. It ended up being awful. But I gave Canelo a pass. I said, well, yeah, come on, guys. He's fighting Crawford for a huge check. Like, no boxer in the world would ever turn that down. And that's true. But that's the difference here with Canelo and Tio, right? Canelo is setting up to fight that fight. And it might not be as dangerous, but he is fighting a guy that everybody thinks is going to run. Canelo ain't like, oh, champ, come on, man. He going to run the whole time. I ain't trying to make a bad fight. I mean, it's not like Canelo could get away with saying that anymore because he already fucking did it. But come on. Come on. Tio is not that guy. We know that. We definitely know that. I think he should be a pay-per-view star. I think if this was the era of HBO, Tio would already be a star, a pay-per-view star. I think that things are very different today. I think Tio is trying to get paid in the same manner for which every fighter before him has found a way to make millions. But it's a different era, champ. It's a different era. And he should use it to his advantage, which he doesn't. He thinks he is by being provocative online and saying crazy shit. He thinks he's being, he thinks he's building a brand or stardom. But in reality, I just don't think he is. And here's the other part of it, guys. I have been a boxing journalist for 10 years, or a little over. And in all that time that I covered boxing and MMA, I started late with wrestling. I can tell you that the sport has deteriorated in a way that wrestling and MMA haven't. Boxing, people know less about the sport today. Not hardcores. Hardcores know everything about their fucking sport. But there are less casuals today. There are less people that can identify boxers. I'm gonna tell y'all something that I did. All right. And oh god. I think I am gonna end up putting it out, but I have a lot of editing to do. Let's just put it that way. So I started putting out TikToks. I don't know how many of you follow me. If you don't, please go to Infighting FX and follow me. I've been doing videos like original content. I've been filming it for about a couple weeks now. I have a couple that are just like short, like silly, like 10, 15-second things, right? But I started doing interviews. Well, no, that's not true at all. I have not started doing. I did a interview session, and I wanted to see how many people recognized boxers. This was the weekend of the Cinco de Mayo fight, and I had every Cinco de Mayo fighter that was fighting, and I showed them the pictures, and it did not go well at all. And I even went up to I even started avoiding certain people that I was like, oh, that guy doesn't watch boxing, and going up to more Mexicans and people that I, would assume grew up watching boxing, and nothing, bro, nothing. And I have this footage that would probably do more damage to the stardom of boxing than anything else. But yeah, it just doesn't have that marketability. And I don't know if big stories and coverage of fights falling apart, I think they hurt boxing more today than they ever have. Especially when you see how how UFC works today, and the lengths that the WWE is going to with TKO. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I still don't think the fight's dead in the water. I think Tio is a person who understands negotiation and understands that there is leverage. There is leverage. He has some leverage. And if he's trying to use it to his advantage, then congratulations to him. Very smart. If he's just walking away from a fight that he doesn't think is worth the risk, then and if fans are just going to accept that like cool, then I don't know, where is boxing today, really. But listen, guys, that's going to do it for me. I appreciate everybody rocking out. I appreciate you rocking out live. I appreciate everybody watching on post. Man, a lot of y'all are watching post, and that's really cool. I will say, if you could go and turn your notifications on in YouTube, um, that would definitely make it so that you never miss a live. You could turn your notifications on X as well, or IG. That'll notify you every time I go live. While the time is set for 2 p.m. every day, Monday through Thursday, the truth is there are things that come up with my work all the time. So like today, we had to push it back, but we got to see Mariah May, so that was cool. But tomorrow we will be live at 2 p.m. I do have some stuff planned. I have a guest planned as well, but I'm going to confirm before I announce it. Please, Infighting FX, YouTube, please go follow. TikTok, please go follow. I need like a 78% increase before I could go live, but I really want to start going live on TikTok. So if you go and have a TikTok, please follow me. And yeah, that's going to be it. Remember, we will be live tomorrow talking about either Money in the Bank and Worlds Collide, or UFC 316 and the ESPN fights with Davis and De Los Santos tomorrow. So either way, Wednesday is going to be one, Thursday is going to be the other. We will be live Saturday all fucking day. Tap in. All right. You're just going to be at the crib watching. Bro, come watch with us, bro. Stop. Chill. Come watch with the champ. Come watch with all the champs. We kicking it. Worlds Collide, 3 o'clock. I'll be live. Money in the Bank, 5:30. Can't remember. I'll be live. The undercards for ESPN, I'll be live. Top Rank, Davis and De Los Santos, I'll be live. UFC 316, will Sean O'Malley get his revenge? I will be live, and I'll be picking Marab. What? Listen, appreciate everybody. Until tomorrow, 2 p.m. Catch y'all then.